Have you ever woken up feeling like the entire world was gray? Not just the sky outside, but everything: your hopes, your dreams, even the moments that once brought you joy? I know you have, because if you're here, you know that feeling of sinking. An emotional quicksand, where every attempt to get out only pulls you deeper. Depression is not sadness. Sadness has a reason. It has an end. Depression is a void that disguises itself as weight, a shadow that devours the light from the inside out. And when it knocks on your door, it doesn't come alone. It brings guilt, shame, and that nagging voice that whispers, "You are weak. You are the problem." Imagine a man in the 19th century, alone at his desk, battling devastating headaches, digestive problems, and a profound loneliness that consumed him from within. This man questioned everything: God, morality, the meaning of existence. His contemporaries called him mad, dangerous. He died virtually unknown, rejected by academia and misunderstood by society. That man was Friedrich Nietzsche. And ironically, his ideas, born from his own struggle against despair, became one of the most powerful philosophical tools for transforming suffering into strength, depression into creation, emptiness into purpose. In the next few minutes, you will not only understand how Nietzsche conquered his inner demons, but you will discover an arsenal of mental tools tested for over 150 years. Tools that can transform your relationship with depression from a losing war into a transformative dance. Because the truth is this: you don't need to defeat depression to be happy. You need to learn to dance with it. If you feel it's time to stop being a hostage to this feeling and want to discover the strength that great thinkers can offer you, know that this channel is your refuge. Subscribe now and turn on notifications, because the journey we begin today is just the first step. When you gaze long into an abyss, the abyss also gazes into you. This quote from Nietzsche is not just poetry. It's a precise map of how depression works. Think about the last time you obsessed over your problems. The more you tried to analyze them, the bigger they seemed, right? That's exactly what Nietzsche discovered. When we stare fixedly at our pain, it begins to define us. But here's the secret he uncovered: the abyss is not your enemy. It is your teacher. In practice, this means stopping the flight from the bad feeling and starting to observe it like a scientist observing a phenomenon. When depression arrives, and it will arrive, instead of thinking, "Why me?" ask, "What are you trying to teach me?" Nietzsche did this literally. He wrote about his crises, mapping his feelings like one maps an unknown land. He transformed his illness into the raw material for his greatest works. You can do the same. The next time the void hits, take a piece of paper and write, "Today the abyss is showing me that ... double quotes, and complete the sentence. Don't judge what comes out. Just observe. God is dead. We have killed him." This sentence is shocking, but Nietzsche wasn't talking about religion. He was talking about all those voices in your head that tell you how you should be. Depression loves these voices. It feeds on your "I should be happy. I should be able to handle this. I should be strong." Every "should" is a stab to your self-esteem. Nietzsche realized that we live trapped by impossible ideals. In his time, it was rigid Christian morality. In our time, it's social media, the culture of success at all costs, the pressure to be productive 24/7. Liberation begins when you kill these false gods in your mind. When a voice says, "You should," ask, "Who decided that?" When guilt comes for not being well, respond, "According to what rules?" Remember, you don't have to fit into other people's mold of happiness. You can create your own. The depressed person who struggles to get out of bed and manages to take a shower might be braver than the successful executive who has never faced a difficult day. Your measure of success is yours, not the world's. Become who you are, This is perhaps Nietzsche's most revolutionary phrase. But what does it mean when you can barely recognize yourself in the mirror? Here's the truth. Depression is often your psyche screaming, "This life is not mine." It's your suffocated, authentic self trying to breathe. Nietzsche discovered this firsthand. He was a university professor, respected, following a safe path. But he was dying inside. Only when he abandoned his career and took his risks did he begin to truly live. No, I'm not telling you to quit your job tomorrow, but I am telling you to start small, authentic rebellions. What part of you is being suffocated? What dream have you shelved because it wasn't practical? Start small. If you've always wanted to paint, buy some paint. If you dream of writing, write 1 paragraph a day. If you feel like changing your look, change it. Depression loses its power when you stop living other people's lives and start living your own. Even if it's an imperfect, beginner, scary version of your life, it's yours. Nietzsche had a brutal mental test. What if you had to live your life exactly the same way, infinite times? It sounds cruel for someone who is depressed, but it's liberating when you understand it correctly. The question is not whether you could endure reliving your pain. The question is, what would you change today if you knew it would be repeated forever? Depression traps us on autopilot. We wake up, we drag ourselves, we sleep, we repeat. But the eternal return forces you to wake up. Every day matters because it is the day you will relive infinitely. In practice, this means turning every small choice into a declaration of who you are. Do you want to be the person who spends the whole day in bed? Okay, but that will be your eternity. Do you want to be the person who, even when depressed, takes a 10-minute walk? Then that will also be your eternity. Use this as a filter for your decisions. Before doing something, ask, would I do this infinite times? If the answer is no, you have a compass for change. It's not about perfection. It's about intentionality. Nietzsche had a fascinating concept, embracing what he called the demon. Not in a religious sense, but in the sense of fully accepting who you are, including your shadow parts. Depression is often the result of an internal war. You fight against your negative thoughts, hate yourself for feeling sad, punish yourself for not being normal. It's a fight you can never win because you are fighting against yourself. What if, instead of fighting, you embraced it? What if you said to your depression, okay, you are a part of me. Let's figure out how we can work together. This isn't giving up. It's strategy. When you stop wasting energy combating your feelings, you free up that energy for constructive things. Instead of, I don't want to feel this way, try, I feel this way, and now what? Practice radical acceptance. When sadness comes, say, hi sadness, I see you. You can stay, but you're not going to drive my life today. Set boundaries with your feelings instead of denying their existence. One of Nietzsche's most powerful ideas is that we are the ones who create values, not the other way around. This is revolutionary when you are depressed because it means you can redefine what a good life means. Society says a good life is being happy, productive, sociable. But what if, for you, a good life was being honest with your feelings? What if it was having the courage to face your difficult days? What if it was finding beauty in the small moments, even in the midst of chaos? Nietzsche created his own values because society's values were slowly killing him. You can do the same. Start by listing what you truly value, not what you should value. Maybe it's the ability to help someone who is suffering. Maybe it's the sensitivity that allows you to feel art more deeply. Maybe it's the strength you've developed by facing your internal battles. When you define your own values, depression ceases to be a failure and becomes an experience that shapes you. You are not broken. You are being forged. Nietzsche's concept of the Superman, or Mensch, has nothing to do with superpowers. It has to do with overcoming yourself, not comparing yourself to others, but to who you were yesterday. When you are depressed, any progress seems insignificant. But Nietzsche understood that transformation happens in microscopic increments, not in dramatic leaps. Your inner Superman is the person who manages to get out of bed even when they don't want to. It's the one who takes a shower even with no energy. It's the one who makes a nutritious meal even with no appetite. It's the one who keeps trying even after 1,000 failures. Stop measuring your progress by others' standards. If today you managed to do one thing that seemed impossible yesterday, you are literally an improved version of yourself. That is Nietzschean overcoming in its purest form. Create small rituals of overcoming. A 5-minute walk when you want to stay in bed. A thank you when you want to complain. A deep breath when you want to freak out. Every small act of conscious choice is you exercising your inner Superman. One must have chaos in oneself to give birth to a dancing star. This phrase from Nietzsche sums it all up. Chaos is not your enemy. It is your raw material. Depression brings chaos. Disjointed thoughts, intense emotions, days that make no sense. The natural tendency is to try to control, organize, fix. But what if the chaos is exactly what you need to create something new? Think of the artists who created their greatest works during periods of crisis. It wasn't in spite of the suffering. It was because of it. Chaos destroys the old structures so that new ones can be born. This doesn't mean glorifying suffering. It means using it as fuel for transformation. The next time everything seems to be falling apart, ask, what dancing star can be born from this chaos? It could be a new hobby, a deeper friendship, a different life perspective, or simply a more authentic version of you. Chaos is temporary. The stars born from it can shine forever. Nietzsche's will to power is not about dominating others. It's about mastering yourself specifically, mastering your reactions to life's events. When you're depressed, you feel like you have no power over anything. But there is one thing that is always under your control: how you interpret what happens to you. The same situation can be seen as, my life is a failure, or I am going through a period of reconstruction. The difference is not in the facts, but in your interpretation of the facts. This is not toxic positivity. It is emotional responsibility. You cannot control whether you have depression, but you can control what you will do with it. Start small. Instead of I am depressed, try I am going through a difficult phase. Instead of I will never get better, try I haven't found what works for me yet. These are small language changes. They create big perspective shifts. Your will to power is your ability to choose your next thought, your next action, your next interpretation of reality. What does not kill me makes me stronger is probably Nietzsche's most famous quote, but also the most misunderstood. It doesn't mean that all suffering automatically makes you strong. It means you can choose to extract strength from your suffering. The difference is crucial. Suffering without reflection is just suffering. But suffering that is processed, understood, and integrated becomes wisdom. Your battles with depression have given you insights that people who have never gone through it will never have. You understand compassion on a deeper level. You value moments of joy more intensely. You have developed an emotional resilience that is pure gold. But this only happens when you stop to reflect. What has this experience taught me? How has it changed my perspective? What strengths have I developed that I didn't have before? Double quotes. Make an inventory of your wounds and the wisdom they have brought. You will be surprised at how much you have grown through the pain. Your wounds do not define you, but the wisdom you extract from them can shape who you become. When we started this journey, I talked about dancing with depression instead of fighting it. Now you understand what that means. It's not passive acceptance. It's active engagement. Nietzsche didn't cure his depression. he transformed it into fuel for one of the most influential philosophies in human history. He took his suffering and made art with it. He took his chaos and created order. He took his loneliness and turned it into wisdom. You can do the same. It doesn't matter how deep the valley you're in now is. There is a way up, and that path is paved with small, courageous choices, empowering interpretations, and the brutal courage to be who you really are. Deep reflection for modern life. We live in an era that treats depression like a factory defect to be fixed. But what if it is, in fact, a call to a more authentic life? What if it's your psyche forcing you to question everything and rebuild from scratch? I am not romanticizing suffering. I am giving you permission to extract meaning from it, to stop seeing yourself as a victim and start seeing yourself as the protagonist of an epic story of transformation. Your depression is not a moral weakness. It is a human condition that billions of people face. Your response to it, that is what defines who you are. You can choose to be crushed by it, or you can choose to dance with it. You can choose to be defined by it, or you can choose to be refined by it. The choice, as Nietzsche would say, is always yours. Philosophy is not a set of dead words in old books. It is a weapon for life. What we've seen today is just one of the many tools we can use to sculpt an existence with more purpose and serenity. If this message resonated with you, and if you wish to continue on this journey of self-discovery and empowerment, do your part. Subscribe to the channel and join our community of thinkers. The next video might hold the key to your next great challenge. And remember, you are not alone in this dance. We are all learning the steps together.